Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to be going through what the best first Benchmade is to buy. If you are kind of new to knives or new to Benchmade and you're looking into buying a Benchmade, which one should you buy first? And I have four laid out on the table here that I think are great. There are plenty of others that a lot of people will buy, but I think these are probably the most still reasonably priced Benchmades that are on the market. So we have the Readout, the Bugout, the Griptilian, and the Osborne, or the 940, which is kind of what it's known by. And to start off, I'll say Benchmades are very expensive. And if you are saving up your money to buy one single one, I would probably recommend going to a different brand, because there's a whole host of reasons for that. But Benchmade is going to charge you a ton of money just to get plastic scales and a relatively outdated steel, where other companies will be better value for your money. But if you're set on buying a Benchmade, that's probably why you're watching this video. So I will kind of indulge that and explain why these I think are the best ones. So I got this Readout this past weekend on National Knife Day for $100. They normally retail for 180. It is got plastic scales, Grivery scales is what they call it, fancy word for plastic, and CPM D2 steel. So pretty outdated steel that you'll find on a lot of Chinese knives, or you'll find on a lot of kind of lower end knives. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad steel. That's generally going to be D2 steel. This is CPM D2 steel, which is a little bit nicer of D2. In my experience, D2 has been a little bit more difficult to sharpen. I've never had a Benchmade with D2, so this will be my first Benchmade with D2. And I think for $100, this knife is a great deal, frankly. If you can get this knife on sale, the Readout, I actually think it is one of the more underrated Benchmade knives. I think the ergonomics are great. I think it's a great size. It fits perfectly into your hand. It is a little bit ugly, to be honest with you. That's why I never really looked at that at first when I was getting into Benchmade, just because I don't think it's the most appealing knife. I think the kind of design towards the back where it gets bigger towards the end is not the greatest looking. But it has grown on me, and frankly, when I picked it up and held it, the ergonomics were fantastic. So I was like, okay, $100, it's a pretty fantastic deal at a local shop. So I walked away with it, and it has turned into, one of my more favorite Benchmades to say. So worth checking out the Readout. It's not for everyone, but I think a lot of you will like it, and a lot of you will be surprised, even those of you who are experienced with Benchmade. Next up, we have the Bugout, probably Benchmade's most popular model right now. They continue to just put out different color waves of the Bugout, and that's probably because it's selling. It is pretty pricey, again, like the Readout. This is $162 for their basic blue and uncoated blade model. The colors, I believe, are $180, which is pretty expensive, again, like the Readout. So shop around for a sale. I think the Bugout is actually a very well-made knife. I think it's thin. I think it's deceivingly durable when you're using it and putting a lot of weight on it. The scales do not really flex while you're using it, at least down. It seems like this would not be able to take much abuse or a lot of force being put on it just because it feels so lightweight, but it does do very well with that. The scales will flex a little bit if you're kind of grabbing it really hard, but as far as when you're pushing down or applying pressure, they don't really flex that much. So you can also get aftermarket scales, which I'll touch on with the next knife, but I think the Bugout is, again, a great option for a first Benchmade. I had a buddy who really didn't know that whole lot about knives, and he held that and immediately went out and bought himself one. So there is some appeal to that. I think it's again, very well-made knife, but there are probably better options out on the market. Next up, this is a funky looking Griptilian. And now normally this looks similar to the Bugout with the pattern on the scales, but it's gonna be black scales, and they're gonna be a little bit fat and chunkier. It's a lot chunkier than the Bugout. The Griptilian has been around for a very long time, and it is a phenomenal knife. I ordered, these are scales, so these are aftermarket scales that are aluminum, and they're milled aluminum from AWT, Applied Weapons Tech, and they make scales for all kinds of Benchmades. I actually think they have scales for all these models right here. So check them out if you're buying a Benchmade. If you get it on sale, you can get their scales on sale too, as blemished, and they're phenomenal. It feels like an entirely different knife. This is probably like the best Benchmade I own after getting these today and installing them. But the Griptilian is going to be, I think, the cheapest actively sold Benchmade right now. I think they retail for about $140. You can get them on sale as well. I got this on sale on Black Friday for under $100. So I think it was like $95, which is an awesome deal. And I got these scales to put on it from AWT blemished. So they're half off on sale because they're blemished, which I can't find the blemish on here anywhere. But for, I think, just over $50 is like $56 maybe. So this entire knife costs less than any of the knives on the table, and it's probably the best feeling. It's the same steel, S30V, and I think it's fantastic. I think the Griptilian is a great size. It's a little bit bigger and a little bit more stocky than the Bugout, but if you're not really looking for something super lightweight or super thin, then the Griptilian is probably the best way to go. Because again, it is $140. I think it's the best value Benchmade on the market, probably because it is priced lower than everything else. And I think, you know, you're getting the same material. So for what it's worth, I think out of all these, the Griptilian will be what I recommend for the best first Benchmade. But I am a little bit biased too because I love the Griptilian. So let's move on to the 940 here finally. The 940 has aluminum scales, same S30V steel. It's got an awesome looking blade shape. It's very lightweight. The action on it's really nice, like all Benchmades, but I think because the thumb stud sticks out a little bit more so than something like the Bugout, not thumb stud, excuse me, sorry, the crossbar sticks out a little bit more than the Bugout and a lot of other models. It's easy to get a good grip on it, and therefore kind of the action is a little bit better. This, for a long time, was my favorite Benchmade until honestly these scales came today. But I think, you know, this is just a phenomenal knife all around. They haven't really increased the price of this a lot over the years. It's stayed at $216 for at least a year and a half now, maybe a little bit longer than that. And I think, you know, it is a fantastic knife. It's been around for generations. So one of their more popular models, it's got aluminum scales, and I think it, for good reason, has been an extremely popular carry knife for a very long time. So these, I think, are 4 great models for you to check out if you're looking into getting a Benchmade, or even if you have never heard of these and you're a Benchmade guy, which, you know, that's probably unlikely. But I think the Readout is a super underrated knife. A lot of people just don't even look twice at it because it's got D2 steel on it. I think that's a mistake. I think it's a fantastic knife. I also think shopping around for sales for Benchmade is a fantastic idea. And to do that and help a lot of people who don't have time to shop around or don't know the best places to look for knife deals, on X, formerly Twitter, I created this thing called a community where you can just join it. It won't show up on your main feed and you can just scroll through knife deals. So I've tried to compile a list of basically how I shop for knives and put all these great deals on there in a similar format. So it's not just cluttered, it's not ads, it's not random people just posting garbage and all kinds of stuff. And I try to curate it so it actually is good deals. Like a lot of times these websites will say sale, but it's maybe only $10 off, or it's, you know, they raise the price and then lower it to a sale. So trying to help y'all out for that. Make sure you check it out. Follow me on X. I'm trying to bring the knife community over there just because I think it's got friendlier policies towards knives and firearms than some other competitive platforms. So definitely check that out. And finally, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Check me out on all those platforms. Check out the links below. I'll kind of link these knives and make sure you keep an eye out for deals on them. Benchmades are very overpriced and very expensive. So if you're saving up your money, be patient, wait for when to go on sale. They are worth it. They're great products. And, you know, probably would recommend holding off until they fix some of their quality control issues, but that's up to you. Just make sure you're getting a good deal. Make sure you're not getting robbed by fake knives. I have a video on that too. Check that out. But I hope you found this helpful. If there's anything else I can do to help you buy or search or look for deals or whatever, please either comment or hit me up on X. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to do what I can to help you out. I really appreciate the support. I know the channel kind of slowed down this past week, so I'm going to try and start putting out videos more regularly, but I appreciate the support. I could not do this without this community, and I just thank you all for that. So that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your morning or evening.